In one of the recent videos, I talked about the legendary Russian off-road truck Ural 375, which went into production in the early 1960s and has lasted on the conveyor of the Ural automobile plant to this day. True, from the point of view of design, today this is no longer the same truck that it was half a century ago. Its power unit, transmission, chassis, and brake system have changed. In 2015, the Ural automobile plant launched the production of the long-awaited successor to the Ural 375, which was called the Ural NEXT. The new model gradually takes over from its predecessor the honorary title of the main Russian off-road truck. In any case, by the beginning of 2022, the vast majority of the plant's deliveries to civilian customers accounted for Ural NEXT. That's what I'm going to tell you about this time. There is no doubt that Ural NEXT is the successor to the famous Ural 375. Both trucks are in the same class. They are similar in size and curb weight. In basic modifications, even the assembly length of the frame, that is the distance from the rear wall of the cab to the rear end of the frame, is the same for them, which allows the Ural NEXT to be equipped with the entire range of bodies that the Ural 375 is equipped with. And even in appearance, continuity is noticeable. The designers tried stylistically to emphasize the kinship of the old and new models, and they succeeded even despite the fact that the Ural NEXT has a fundamentally different cab, hood, and front fenders. Interestingly, the cab for the Ural NEXT is unified with the cab of the Gazelle NEXT light truck. These are models of completely different classes, but their cabins are the same. For Ural NEXT, such a cab does not seem small. It is quite spacious even by the standards of a heavy truck. The passenger seat can easily accommodate 2 people. The controls in the cockpit also resemble those of light commercial vehicles. The steering wheel here is small in diameter and rotates with little effort. The steering column is tilt adjustable. Switching the transfer case and switching on the mechanisms for blocking the center and wheel differentials is carried out by simply pressing the buttons. The driver's seat is made sprung, with variable suspension stiffness and a wide range of adjustments. A modern, spacious and comfortable cabin is not the only difference between the Ural NEXT and its predecessor, the Ural 375. The newcomer also has other important design changes. In short, the new off-road truck has got an air brake system instead of an archaic pneumatic hydraulic one, brake cylinders with a wedge release mechanism, Wabco pneumatic chambers, automatic pad adjustment, a modernized transfer case pneumatic drive, stronger and more durable transmission elements, as well as an integral steering mechanism brand RBL. To increase the payload, a frame with solid reinforcing elements instead of welded ones and a more load-bearing front axle were used. Under the hood, instead of the long obsolete diesel engine with a V-shaped cylinder arrangement, a modern inline 6-cylinder YOMZ 536 diesel engine with a capacity of 270 or 310 horsepower is installed. The gearbox in the basic version is a modern 9-speed well-known brand ZF. This gearbox is manufactured by the Russian-German joint venture ZF. Alternatively, you can equip the truck with a Russian gearbox manufactured by the Yaroslavl motor plant. Ural NEXT received improved fuel and electrical systems. Mechanisms for locking cross-axle differentials are finally included in the list of basic equipment. Most of the above improvements have not only improved performance, as a result of modernization, the reliability and service life of the car have increased. Moreover, the resource of many components has increased by more than half. This results in a significant reduction in the cost of ownership. I myself had a chance to drive the Ural NEXT on country roads near the Russian city of Yekaterinburg. A significant part of the way went through the forest, and the trucks had to literally wade through the trees, almost touching their trunks with mirrors and sides of the bodies. Not without mud. In several areas with water-filled, rain-washed ruts, cars literally scraped along the ground with bridge casings and steps, getting out onto a dry road with kilograms of clay adhering to the wheels. The purpose of the train was to get to the sites known throughout the country, the so-called Devil's Settlement. This is a unique rock as high as a multi-story building in the vicinity of the city of Yekaterinburg. In ancient times, as a result of tectonic shifts, it was literally squeezed out of the ground. From the outside, this giant gives the impression of being made up of separate slabs. In fact, this rock is one huge monolith used by local residents as an altar in the past centuries, and now it is a popular place of pilgrimage for tourists. The Ural NEXT family is gradually growing. One of the most interesting special versions based on it is a technical assistance truck for participation in rally raids. Its chassis is especially carefully adapted for extremely difficult conditions. The fuel tanks are enlarged, the axles are made of vacuum-melted steel, reinforced bearings and hardened gears are used, and the van body has not one, but two spare wheels. The most powerful version of the YMZ 536 diesel engine is installed in the engine compartment, developing 330 horsepower, which, taking into account the reduction in the gear ratio of the final drive of the drive axles, allows speeds up to 120 km per hour. One of the most demanded modifications of the Ural NEXT is a dump truck, which is equipped with a body unloaded to the rear, the capacity of which, depending on the type of transported soil, varies from 8 to 12 cubic meters. These bodies receive the simplest rectangular section in terms of the applied technology with oblique side stiffening ribs. It is interesting that the plant does not buy these bodies on the side, but produces them on its own. But it is also possible to complete the Ural NEXT with a body with unloading on three sides: back, left and right. Such dump trucks are easier to use with a trailer, as part of a road train. Due to the unloading on three sides, they are often used in agriculture. The Ural plant also produces rotational bodies on its own. That is, these are bodies mounted on truck chassis with windows and seats for transporting passengers. The truck with them turns into a cross-country bus, which is mainly used to transport shift teams of workers in difficult road conditions. Such off-road buses are produced on the Ural NEXT chassis, including in the northern version, with heating of the fuel tank, fuel lines and battery, with additional cabin insulation, electrically heated windshield and autonomous heater. Two autonomous heaters are also installed in the insulated passenger body, which is equipped with seats like in tourist buses. Separate, with armrests and a back-tilted back. Another modification of the Ural NEXT, which is very much in demand among customers, is a tanker. I managed to get acquainted with its new modification, the tank capacity of which was increased from 10 to 11 cubic meters. This tanker is based on the Ural NEXT chassis with an increased wheelbase. The distance between the first and second axles is 4,775 mm against 4,000 mm in the basic version. A modification in demand among Russian customers is the Ural NEXT with a gas engine. This particular sample was equipped with a rear-mounted crane and a cargo and passenger superstructure, roughly divided in half into a closed glazed box and a short onboard platform. This off-road truck received the YMZ 536 CNG, with a capacity of 260 horsepower, running on methane. With such an engine and cylinders for storing compressed methane, Ural NEXT can travel 650 kilometers at one gas station, consuming an average of 40 cubic meters of methane per 100 kilometers. And finally, an interesting fact. Unlike its predecessor Ural 375, the new Ural NEXT received not steel, but plastic hood and front fenders. Since most of the traditional buyers of Ural off-road trucks were initially apprehensive about this choice of material, the plant demonstrated an unusual experiment to future customers, proving the strength and reliability of plastic elements. Employees of the plant brought with them pneumatic guns that shoot potatoes and offered to fire them at the hood of the truck. That's how it was. First, a shot at a wooden shield. As a result, several boards were knocked out of it. That is, the blow is really strong. And then, a shot at the plastic hood. The potatoes shattered into small pieces, and there was no damage on the hood. Durability proven. But such tricks were required to be demonstrated when the Ural NEXT was just put into production. To date, customers have already managed to test hundreds of such trucks in practice, and now they have no doubts about the strength and resource of their design. In addition, the family of special modifications continues to expand on the basis of Ural NEXT. I will talk about one of these modifications in one of the following videos.